that's what these Wednesday guitar classes are about. We take the lessons from the book, we connect them to other lessons in the book, and we expand upon them. It's this web of knowledge that we're weaving. We're weaving it all in together into the now. So we'll go back to this intervals. Right, so the first thing I need you to do, and I'm going to speed through this. The way that I see the intervals, I see it as a seesaw, because there is a symmetry to the sound of these intervals and the way that we name and label them. Okay, so what we're going to do is, if we look at this, the starting note, I'm going to do this, essentially what it is, it's called a chromatic scale, right? Ooh, a chromatic scale. Now, I love the word chroma because chroma means colour, and what this does is it shows you all the colours that you have available to us. And the cool thing about this is the chromatic scale, it's just 12 notes, guys. This is all we have. We've got 12 notes. I love this. I love this 12 notes thing. And all music comes from this. Doesn't matter what genre you like or what it is, it all comes from those 12 notes. How amazing is that? I really think that's fascinating. So what we've got is we've got this foundation note to the chromatic scale. And this applies across every key. Yeah, and I'm not going to use alphabet letters. I'm going to use interval letters. So we can actually, if I do this and if I think on and I do it like this, I'm going to do a line. That's a string, okay? We're going to look at that as a string, and I'm going to draw the seesaw just a little bit different. There's a fret wire, okay? So what we've got is we've got a root note. Now that is note number 1, okay? So we're thinking about the root note as number 1. So I'll just put that there just so that you can see that it is number 1. I'll make that a little bit more one-ish. There we go. So we can see that root is number 1. So it's really simple, guys. What comes after 1 is 2. Okay? Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to have 2 there. Now, the thing with this, though, there is something that happens, and we have to really drill this. And, you know, I say this repeatedly because it's to reinforce it. The more you hear me say it, the easier it is for it to stick in your brain. Yeah, major and minor. Yeah, major and minor, they travel in pairs. Okay, so this is the way to see the seesaw. They travel in pairs. So think of them as Mr. and Mrs. Okay, so we're going to have a minor second. All right, and I'm going to put min there for minor second. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another second here, and this is major. And the reason that this is the way it is because if I start on this, if this was a fret, let me just put that there to show that it looks like a fret. So if that was a fret and we moved up 1 fret, that would be a minor second. You might think of it as a half step. That's another name for it. You might think of it as a semitone. That's another name for it. But this is the way to kind of look at it from an interval perspective. That's just another way of naming things, you know. It's like pineapple in some countries. We call it pineapple, but in other countries it's called something that sounds way more interesting. So here, minor is always less. It's always 1 less. So that's what you've got to look at here. You've got to see this relationship. So the major second, it's the big second. Yes. If you think about the minor second, it's the smaller gap between this fret and this fret. So if that's a fret and that's a fret, it's only 1 fret. That's 2 frets. So obviously, if I move back 1, it becomes less. So just moving from that position to that position there, that's what happens there. So the way I think about that is those guys are a pair. They're Mr. and Mrs. Yeah, and that's it. That's the way I think about it. Yeah, that's the way we're looking at it. Now, what comes after 2, I wonder? Well, it's obvious, isn't it? We all know. Hopefully, we all know. We get a 3. Now, what happens is we get another 3. So there are 2 3s. And you can kind of get an idea. If you understand that this is potentially what's going on, you can guess what's going to happen here. You can think to yourself, well, minor and then major, well, isn't this going to be the same carry on? Yeah, it is. It's really that simple. So look, minor, major. So we get another couple there, yeah? So we've got that there. Now, here's the thing. This is where it goes a bit weird. Yeah, it goes a bit wonky here. What happens is we get a fourth, right? Now, this fourth, because of the way that the string gets divided, the ratios and all that business, and the harmonics and the undertones and the overtones and everything, this is called perfect. So this is a perfect fourth, okay? So we get the perfect fourth there. What we can get, and I'm just going to skip over this one for a minute because once I come back, it'll make sense. I'm going to put 5 here, yeah? Because this here is another perfect interval. And what I like to see is this sandwich. Now, if you imagine that you go to a bakery, and I always use this analogy, and you get this really, artisan crusty loaf that's absolutely gorgeous, and that's a slice of the bread. It's perfect. There's another slice of the bread, and you think to yourself, oh, hang on, I've got this lovely bread. Okay, what am I going to put inside it? And you've got nothing else to put inside the bread to make a decent sandwich apart from lemons. A lemon sandwich. And what happens is we get this thing called the sharp 4. And this would make sense. When you sharpen a note, you raise it a half step. So if I take this perfect fourth and raise it a half step, it becomes a sharp 4. Okay? Now, if I do the opposite of that, however, it becomes a flat 5. Look, so perfect fifth. If I go down a half step, I've flattened it. So this gives us this idea. We get a sharp 4 or a flat 5 in the middle there. Now, this is really cool. What we end up with is this lemon sandwich. This sharp 4, yes, you can think of it as the devil tone. The devil's interval, it's sometimes called as well. But the beautiful thing is that's a little structure inside there, all of its own. And I think that's super useful to see, okay? Because this ends up having a real significance when we get into it. Now, we've got to 5. Let's carry on with a sequence of numbers. We've got 6. Let's add another fret. So we've got a 6 there, but we're going to have 2 6s. And guess what happens here, guys? We get major and minor again. So this is going to be a minor 6 because that's closer to the root note. The major 6 is further away, so the gap is wider, so it's bigger. So it is bigger, okay? Right, I'll answer some questions in a moment once I've mapped this out. So that's another Mr. and Mrs. Then what happens is we get a 7. Okay, but there's 2 of them. So, because there's 2 of them, guess what? One's going to be minor, one's going to be major. And then we get another Mr. and Mrs. Carry on here. Now, the root note, once we hit that 12th fret, this becomes the octave. But really, the root note is the same as the octave note. Okay, so that gives us all of our notes. And if I count up, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are the 12 notes. Oh, hang on. We stopped play here. All right, hang on. We were on a different one. Something's just arrived. Special delivery in my major pentatonic caged system autopsy mug. There you go. A Yorkshire salute. Yorkshire tea. Is it Yorkshire Gold today? It's not Yorkshire Gold. It's what? Decaf. Oh, right, okay. I was going to say decaf. We don't do decaf in this house. Suitably lava-like. We like that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, young Miss Ricky. Okay, right. Hopefully, let's go back to the dianogram. The perfect fifth must be a narcissist. Wait, it might be a unicorn. It might be like something like that. Now, I did draw my string a bit along there, but this is what I mean by the seesaw. Okay, so hopefully you can see how that is. Now, Another way to see the division in the seesaw, which I think is fantastic, is the fact that if I go up from the root note and I go up a tone, and then I go from the major second up another tone, that's 2 tones, and then I go up another tone, then what happens is I get a tritone. Okay? And that takes me to that slice of lemon in our sandwich. Okay? Okay, so the thing is, that does that there. Now, if I go back from that root note and I go down a tone, okay, and then let's go back another tone, and then back another tone, it takes me to that same note. So there, I get another tritone. So you can see in the interval seesaw, we have 2 tritones. And the beautiful thing is that this puts me here. And this is where I think the center of the interval seesaw is. This is the fulcrum. You see, so you see it's perfectly balanced. Yeah, and I've got my colours out, because I like my colours. Yeah, so I'll put some colours in here. Look, there's the root. Okay, and we'll put the octave there. We'll do that like that. Let's have a look. What else have we got? Let's do some blue for those there. But what I'd like to show you is that I think of these as being complementary intervals. Thirds and sixths. This is really useful to know when it comes to inverting your intervals, you know. So understanding this structure, you just got to memorize this. It's absolutely wonderful for you to do so. All right, okay, well, we've got this lemon sandwich in the middle here. Let's put that lemon slice in there. And what we're going to have here, we'll have some beautiful sourdough bread there. Let's have a look at that. So there you go. There's the interval seesaw. I really like how that just balances. You can see how it all works there. Now what these are essentially are ingredients, okay? There are ingredients for everything. And they're ingredients for all the pitches we're going to play. Now, there are only 3 ways to understand pitch, yeah, that they get applied to music. We get chords, which are bunches of notes. We get scales, which is a linear expression of notes where they're just one sound at a time. Yeah, so chords are polyphonic. Polyphonic. Scales are, if you play them on their own, they are monophonic. And the last one is the in-between chords and scales. If we take a chord and the notes from a chord and we play them like a scale, we get arpeggios. And these guys, you know, we kind of think of those as being monophonic as well. But the cool thing is that essentially, if I have a chord, then like I say, remember what I was saying to you right at the beginning, it is chord on chords. That's the way we're thinking about it, okay? So that's what we're thinking about, how we're thinking about everything today. Hope this pen's going to stick with the rest of this lesson. So that's what we're going to get into now, okay? So let's. What I'll do is I'll have a little recap. And what I'll do is I'll leave it on this picture, and then I can refer to it, and I'll scroll back a little bit. Teacher, milk before or after? Oh, Carter, always milk after and never sugar. Right, let's have a look and see where we got to. See what questions were people. How does one use this going from E to B and B to C since they live next door to each other? Right, so Carter asked this question. Yeah, so how does one use this going from E to F and B to C? That's a different layer of understanding. Yeah, but it lives. You've got to connect them. They overlay each other. These ideas all superimpose over the top of each other, and it's just another way of looking at it. You've got to think about understanding your music theory as like a cake, and each layer makes the whole of the thing, the whole of the cake. So essentially, if you're using letters, that's generally going to be very, very key specific. Okay, whereas this, you see, this starting note can be any of the 12 notes that we have. It could be, yeah, so it could be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and it could be any of the sharps or the flats as well. And you would still have this setup here. Yeah, you would still have this seesaw going on there. So what you're doing is you're looking at two different frameworks as well. I know it, and I'm just going to say, yeah, I know it can be confusing when you sometimes see something where it says, all right, it's an E flat, and then you hear something like, well, it's a flat third, and it seems as if the two things, they're part of the same system, but they're not. Yeah, so you really got to think about how this works, from letter numbers, scale degrees, the different layers. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Something will crop up in my brain in a minute. Difficulty. My mum says I'm perfect, but I am 58. So Dick Plump says, so a double flat 3 becomes a major 2. So you're on about double flats. A double flat 3. Yeah, do we want to get into double sharps and double flats? We can do, but I mean the thing is, I think it's unnecessary to over egg the pudding. But it does make sense when you start getting into the obtuse key signatures that, you know, you've got 7 sharps, 7 flats, that sort of stuff where you're double thinking notes and you're thinking, hang on, this is an E sharp, but it's sounding an F, and all that sort of stuff. We don't want to get. I don't know if we really want to get into that, but I kind of see what you're saying. Yeah. So a double flat 3. Let me show you what that means. I'm going there. So we get a 3. If we double flat it, then it's going to become a major second. Yeah, kind of. But a double flat, you wouldn't come across that really. Just the way the way we name chords and scales and arpeggios, I think. I'm not saying that it wouldn't pop up, but it might do, but on something very obtuse. So Carter, scale pattern in that case, but it's based on the chromatic scale. Chroma is basically all the colours. Okay. So the major and minor scale. The blue note, yes, the tritone is the blue note. You can think of that as the blue note. Sus4, that's a chord structure. That's a triad. So we have that. Sus4 is perfect fourth, but suspended in a triad. Yeah, well, Sus4, basically what you do is you suspend the third in favour of the fourth. Yeah, and just like the word suspend means, the expectation is that the chord resolves. Doesn't always do that because, you know, people like what they like sound-wise. Let's have a look. Decaf, take it back. Good-looking cup. It is a very good-looking cup. Yeah, so everything's related to the root note. The root is 0. You could kind of think about. Well, I think of it as 1. So that's the way I think about it. You can see stacked thirds in the not with the tertian movement. There's no tertian movement. Actually, if you think about the tones here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That could be secundal, but we're not going to get into secundal harmony. I finally understand why there is a perfect fourth and fifth. It's more about ratios, and it's about the harmonic series, the way I really understand it, the lemon fulcrum. It is pretty, isn't it, Scott? It is. Light bulbs. Phil Jones is getting light bulbs. That's what we need. Sourdough is ketone. That is good. It is good. How does the interval relate to whole, half, whole, half? Okay, well, let's do that. Should we do it? I'm going to put that up on the chat there. I'm going to just put my hand there so that yeah. So Winston says, how does the intervals relate to whole, half, whole, half? Well, you see here, this is all the notes that we have available to us. And what we can do is we can use this to get our scale formulas. Yeah, now this is moving away from the chord connection thing, but you need to know it, right? So essentially, The major scale, which is the most important scale, goes like this. Is the scale formula for it. It goes root, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. And you'll notice that it is unaltered. There's no sharps, there's no flats on any of those intervals there. Yeah, any of those scale degrees. There's none of that going on there. And that's because this root here relates to this note. Yeah, and remember I said this could be any note, starting note. And what I need to do is I need to go up to the second to get the next note. The third, I need to go to the major third. Notice the scale is called major. Yeah, I don't have any minor scale degrees in here. So this is a major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seven. So from that chromatic scale, I can pull out, so a 12-note scale, I can pull out a 7-note scale. I'm discarding 5, and that gives me that structure there. And that is the main structure for Western harmony. But if I was to look at something like, let's look at the minor scale. And I'm talking about the natural minor scale. Let me just write out the scale degrees. And what we do, this is the way it works, is right now that looks like the major scale. But what I have to do is I have to alter it. Flat 3, flat 6, flat 7. That is the formula then, now, I have for the minor scale. And that means I get a root note, I get a major second, I get a minor third, which is the same as a flat third, I get a perfect fourth, a perfect fifth, I get a minor sixth, and I get a minor 7. So you can see that what's happened is 3 of those scale degrees have been altered to get that minor sound. And the key to this is the third. If you alter the third, equals major or minor. Yeah. So that comes up in the shapes that we use. Okay, that's going to come up in the shapes that we use. All right. So one tone at a time. Yes. So look at this, and there are loads of scale formulas. And like I say, look, I have some in the book. Where we go? If we go to the back of the book, right at the back of the book. And the way you do it is you can plot them out on a single string and play them, and then what you can do is you can plot them out in a box, in a scale box. Okay, so look, there's loads of them, and these are what I consider the common scale formulas here. Okay, in the back of the book, and what you do is if you photocopy this. And then you say to yourself, right, okay, I'm going up and counting up so many frets and getting to grips with those intervals crossing the string. So this is not only notes going up a string, it's going across from the E string to the thin E string as well. So that's how scale patterns get formed on the neck. I'm just wondering, is that flat 7? Which flat 7? The diminished there, Carter, is all about tends to be all about the fifth. Yeah, that's what I think about. That's how I think about it. Let me just. I'm on it. I'm here. So when I think about the fifth, what happens is we get augmented and diminished. Those are the two most common ways that those notes. The perfect fifth. If I augment that perfect fifth up that way, a sharp 5, does that make sense? An augmented, yes. I'm going to go there. If we think about ladies who get like stuff in the lips, you know, the filler things, and then they look angry. Their lips look angry for like days. And it's like, but the lips are augmented. They're bigger. They're made more. Does that even make sense? Yeah. So, and if you're going on a diet, then hopefully you hope that your body mass, it diminishes. Yeah. So it's about becoming about less. So it's still about a size thing. It really is about a size. It's about distance between things. You know, majors and minors. They're just different ways of describing all of these things. Yeah. So, but these are the ones these are the most important ones there. Okay. Right. Um, I did see that Sean said so. Scales and arpeggios are monophonic. Yeah, because you play one note at a time. But, but, but the thing is, it's like if you're playing it on top of a chord that exists in the now, then you're creating polyphony. Hopefully that makes sense. Right. Okay. So. Right. Okay. So if you have double sharps, flip to the enharmonic flat key. Yeah, you could do that. So Randy says, so would sharp 4 be an augmented 4? Yes, it would be. Yes. Look, so you could call it an augmented fourth, and the flat 5 is also known as a diminished fifth. Yes, so that's the way to look at that. But don't get too but I mean, this might come up. You can think about it. It's good to understand these. It's good to understand these relationships, because the things that you're saying in the chat here, guys, these all someone had to go there. Mike G. So so you're going to come across this, so you need to understand this because of the because when it comes to playing the sound of a chord, of getting these chord tones, what we're essentially doing is we're going to take the gist of it today is we take the triads, yeah, and we add notes to the triad, chord on chords, and in doing so we create bigger chord structures. Yeah. Now the thing is, when you create a bigger chord structure, then it really starts to become really kind of concrete and rigid in what you can do with it, which is why power chords, which are 2 notes, yeah, the root and the fifth, are amazing, because the thing is you can play major on them, you can play minor on them. They're really, really sort of musically ambidextrous, if that makes sense. So let's have a look. So, major scale discards 5 of the 12 chromatic notes. Exactly. Is there a name for the 5-note scale that contains the flat second? Well, actually, you're going to find that that's a pentatonic. Yes. So, the monophonic, polyphonic, what makes orchestras and stuff sound so good? Exactly there, Kanocha. This is the thing, because that's the whole point. There's only 12 notes, but the thing is they're in different ranges and different registers, and that's the thing. And really, that's a big part of how I think about the guitar is like, how do you access the full register of the guitar, have low sounding chords, have high sounding chords, and so that you can tap into essentially what I can see as the 4 voices: the bass, the tenor, the soprano, and the alto and the soprano. So this is a way to think about it in that kind of those textures that you create. Okay, and that's a really interesting sort of way of looking at it. Yeah, so orchestras are, they do the whole thing, double bass and and up to the piccolo. It's a wide range of instruments, and it's not just that, it's the texture of those instruments as well that actually, create their own vibe within the composition. It's, which is an amazing thing. If you've never been to see an orchestra, you should do it. It's an absolutely wonderful experience. And it doesn't have to be expensive, and you can go and see local, if you've got a music college near you, I highly recommend going and seeing their orchestras, because they're very, very skilled, and it generally won't cost you 300 quid to go and see them. Yeah, so okay, let's scroll down and let's see what's going on in the comments here. Okay, monophonic means 1 note at a time. What the heck is polyphony? Poly means many. Yeah, it's not a parrot. So poly means many, phony means sounds. Yeah, so many sounds. That's what mono means, monophonic, 1 sound. Yeah, so that's the way to think about it. Dick Plomp says, is it handy to think in piano keys? I know the piano better than the guitar. The theory is exactly the same. The layout is completely different. They're completely alien to each other. If you imagine, I often think with piano, if you imagine that you took your black keys of your piano and you swapped them out and made them white to go with the other keys, yes, so you've got your white keys, you've got your black keys, change them all to white keys, then that's the chromatic scale, if that makes sense, just going up. Yeah, so you're filling in all the notes going up chromatically. Yeah, but guitar essentially has 6 of those. Yeah, and they are fixed, and each of them has a starting note. You know, because if you think, I'm just thinking on an 88 key piano, the lowest note. Star! I'm going to get some help from the resident pianist in the house. What's the lowest note on your piano downstairs? It's an A. So her piano downstairs, yeah, 88 key, upright piano, proper one, A. Okay, it's an A. So the thing is that you could see that as starting on the A string, you know, but you've got over 2 octaves. Guitar strings, you know, from the head notes to the end of the neck where you run out of frets, the maximum they tend to do is 24 frets, which is 2 octaves. Yeah, so if you imagine that times 6 strings, and each string starts on has a different starting note, then essentially you're running like 6. I think of it as like 6 pianos. So you're essentially being Rick Wakeman from Yes. Okay, and I think that's it's a good way. But having the piano knowledge is not going to harm you at all, at all. So that's a good way of doing it. Now I'm kind of, you know, summarizing, doing that broadly, in that way of thinking about it. Okay, so let's have a look. So let's go back to this here. Maxi Rater, triad inversions have 4th intervals, so people think they are playing whole tone scales when they're not. Oh yes, inversions, yes, and they have 6th in there as well. So so there's interesting things going on with intervals, which is what inversions. Sorry, so that's why I love inversions, because they add extra texture. It's always a perfect 4th, a string below. Yes, generally. The tuning of the guitar is in 4ths, apart from between the G and the B string where it's tuned in a major 3rd. So I can also pull out the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 diminished from the interval. That's a bit different, is that? Because now what you're doing is you're looking at the chord structures that have been harmonized from the scale. So the scale is the ingredients, yeah. And if you imagine somebody dumped seven Lego bricks in front of you, yeah. Somebody dumped the 7 Lego bricks, and those Lego bricks were all C D E F G A B, and then those. What I could do is I can stack those on top of each other to make 3 Lego stacks. Does this make sense? Even, yes. If you imagine I had Lego, so I've got a piece of Lego. Let's do a piece of Lego like that. The worst invention known to man's foot. Yeah, if you've ever trodden on a Lego with bare feet. So that's a Lego. So we think of a Lego as a note, yeah. But if we put them on there, so you could think of it as a 1 note there, and then if I do it like this, now I've got 3 Legos stacked on top of each other. 1 could be the root, 1 could be the 3rd, and 1 could be the 5th. And this is going to give me, a triad. Okay, does that make sense? I'm trying to make them look like Legos. Hang on. So hopefully that would make sense. Because look, hang on, I'll color code it so it goes with that. You see, perfect 5th. That's the Lego for that. Let's get that pink one. Where's that pink one? I think that's it there. Yeah, so this is the same as the root note there. So that is, as you can see, this one's on its own. So it's monophony. This is grouped together. So that's polyphony. Okay? Does that make sense? Lego? Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So it's going to have to catch up on the rest of this replay later. Have a great day. Thank you, Craig. Yeah, well, you know, I think piano is good for that, but the chords everything's a little bit more concentrated in one area on guitar, you know. So that's the way things work. The guitar has quite a range as well. Right, hopefully that makes sense. Now, okay, let's get back on track. Whew. Let's get back on track. So now we have the ingredients, okay? We've got the ingredients in this sheet, which will be going up in PDF Club, guys. So don't worry about this. I like that one. That's a really nice, colourful one today. So we're going to have that one. Now we've got the ingredients. What we need to do is we need something to hold them, something to hang them onto, something that to pull them together. Yeah, so we can see them on the guitar. Okay. And this is what I mean by chords on chords. So the way we do that is, I'm going to go over here. Like I say, I didn't draw out any chord diagrams beforehand, but I'll do them now freehand. Hopefully they'll come out nice and level. Okay, so we've got these here. And what I want to show you is the way chords work in the cage system, okay? We can look at it from this perspective, and I want to show you this here, okay? When we look at the cage system, those are the shapes that we get. Those are the only shapes that we have on the guitar, okay? The only shapes that we get. If we look at the A shape, the E shape, and the D shape, those guys they're built differently than these two here. The C shape and the G shape are spelt a little differently. And what I'll do is I'll show you how this works. And I'm going to go from the thickest string first. I'm going to go from the E shape. Now, when you think about it, if we want to think about an E chord, it's got a root, a third, and a fifth. And the notes that we get are an E, a G sharp, and a B. And I'm going to put that in a little table like that. I think that's the easiest way to see it. Let's do the same here. I'll fill all this information out here. For this A chord, what happens is we get an A, a C sharp, and an E. So you can see here, this ties in with this idea. This is intervals, and this is alphabet letters. So this and this are two different. These are two different layers of that understanding. But what we do is we can connect them. Yeah, so we're connecting them there. So let's look at this. Root, third, fifth. Let's go with this one. It's going to be D, F sharp, and A. So you can see I put it in that table. I think that's the easiest way to really do it, you know, rather than doing it in standard notation. Do I do it in standard? No, I'm not going to do it in standard notation. Now, the thing that we need to understand is if I just plot out this E chord, let's just take a moment as well to soak this in. Maybe you've made this correlation. Hopefully you have. Look at the E shape. Yeah, and look at where the lowest sounding note is in the E shape. It's on the E string, isn't it? Because we get E, A, D, G, B, E. E, A, D, G, B, E. E, A, D, G, B, E. Super. Right, okay. Oh, this is Elephants and Donkeys Grow Big Ears. So this is to the tuning of the guitar. So we've got that there. And we know, so that's an open string. So we know that that's going to be an E, which is the root note. Okay? But I'm just going to plot the shape out of an E chord. And what we get is, there, we get a B, which is the fifth. So I'm going to put the fifth there. Then here, this is the D string. If we go up a whole step from the D, we get to an E, which is another root note. Look at that. So there's a root note there. Then what happens is we've got this note on the G string, 1 fret higher than the G. So this becomes a G sharp, which makes it the third. Okay, so we're crossing that information over there. Then what we have is we've got the open B string, which we can see is the fifth. And then what we can see is we've got another root note here in that on that thin E string. Worth noting, you've got a root note, you've got a root note, and you've got another root note there. 6-string chord, 3 of those strings are root notes, which is why it sounds such a big, strong, stable sounding chord. Okay, just put the fret numbers down there as well. So hopefully you can see here what's happened is we've got the 5th, the root, and the 3rd. Now when we get a 5th, the root, and a 3rd, that's called a second inversion. You don't really need to, you can understand this, but the thing is, really, I just call it 5R3. Yeah, it makes sense, because if we look at this, if we looked at this from the perspective of playing it on the guitar, the E chord we put 3 fingers on, the A chord we have 3 fingers on, the D chord we have 3 fingers on, and you can see what happens is this shape moves over 1 string every time. The kink in the tuning knocks it. Yeah, if the whole guitar was tuned in 4ths, that note would be there. Yeah, and if we moved it over here, that note would be there and that note would be there, and it would essentially look like an E shape all the way across. Yeah, but it isn't, because we've got that pesky tuning issue between the G and the B string. Yeah, which is good, but we like that. We like the kink in the tuning because it's lovely. Right, we don't want this E string on the A chord, and when we move over to the D chord, we don't need the E and the A, even though you technically could have the A in there, but that would muddy the sound of the chord, because essentially you get a perfect 4th across there, and that's not nice. So what we've got here, we've got a root here, and then if I go here, you can see this is where you tune in 4ths. Nice. So we've got a D here, and then you can see we've got an E here, which is the 5th. So we've got the 5th. Then we go G to A. So G to A, the A is a root just there. And then if we go to this note here, you can see this is the B string. C would be there. That would be C sharp, which makes it the 3rd. So you can see that we get 5R3, 5R3. This E here is the 5th. Let me just add that in there again. Now let's have a look at this one. So that's another root note there. Let's put this one on the G. So we go on the G string here. We go up a whole step. We get to an A, which is the 5th. So we get the 5th there. Then what happens is, if we're on this B string, B, C, D, hang on, that's going to be another root note there. So there's the root note. And then we're on an E string here, but we're on the 2nd fret. So we've got E, F, F sharp. That's going to make that note the 3rd. So we get the 3rd there. Now, hopefully you can see the pattern then between these. So we get this here. I always see that there. Yeah. So you can see the shapes, and it's 5R3, 5R3, 5R3. Okay. Okay. So I have tried it. I think I've probably got a guitar knocking around tuned in 4ths. Right. I'm going to turn this sideways because I just need to put this on as well, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hang on, 5, 6. I'm going to go back that way. Right. Nearly ended in disaster there. But what we can do is that we've got to think about these. I think of these as being the 2 polar tonalities that we have. We have major and minor, and it's kind of like, you know, yin and yang. So, yin and yang. I always get it wrong. Yeah, so you got that. So you got major and minor tonality. So we get E minor, A minor, and D minor. And this is where your most common minor shapes come from, guys. Specifically these two. This is less common, but I'm not saying it kind of comes up sometimes, but not as much. Now what happens is, and I'm just going to plot these out, because what we've got with this is we've got a root, a flat 3rd and a 5th, a root, a flat third, and a fifth. Root, flat third, fifth. Okay, so these are all minor, and that's what it is that flat third is the minor, because look, like I said, minor third, yeah, it's one less. Because it's one less, look, because it's one less, then basically, if I look at my original master shape, yeah, and that's what I think of the caged shapes as being the 5 master shapes. If I take this third here and I lower it 1 fret, then what happens is it becomes a flat third. I'm going to do that with this one here as well. Look, this is on the 2nd fret on the A shape. So if I pinpoint that one, that third, and I take it back, then what happens is I get the flat third. Okay? If I do the same with the D chord here, there's the D major, that's the third, there's the flat third. Okay? Now all I need to do really is just put the 5th and the root in, and I get my minor chord shapes. Do those shapes look familiar to you? Yeah, so you can see your E minor that you might know and love. Notice how the root note is still, you know, the open string is still going to be in the same spot as well. Those notes there. A minor, the 5th and the root, I'll just plonk those in there. And then on the D minor, these two are going to be in the same spot as well. 5, R3. Now what I can do is, I can take those and let me just pinpoint where those live. You can even see how similar that looks to that in that regard. And then look at the D minor, how that forms a different triangle. I'm not going to debate what kind of shape it is. It's probably scaling more than likely. Yeah, so those are the shapes. Now these shapes essentially become the basis for our bar chords. Okay, this is the thing. And actually, if I put this down here, these two shapes here are the ones that we use the most for bar chords. Hopefully that makes sense there, guys. Right? So, just to show you what I mean, let me just play you. Let me just play you. Yeah, right, okay, there we go. So the thing is, if we're in E major, just here, you can see I've got my 5th, root 3rd. Now, somebody mentioned earlier on about major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. The order that the chords go in a key, yes? So what we can do is we can do that with this 5R3. I've done chord tone soloing ideas around this, guys. So this is a structure that we can use. So look, chord 1 major, chord 2 minor. I'm only playing the 5th, the root, flat 3rd. That's chord 2. Move that up a whole step. 5th, root, flat 3. That's chord 3. Let me just play those 3 together so you can get some musical context. You can see and hear, well, you can hear how they harmonize with each other. So that's major, minor, minor. Chord 4's major. It's back to the E shape again, okay? Up a whole step to get to chord 5, which is an E shape. We're going to go to the minor here. Now this is cool because what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on this just so you can see how this works. Because this is tricky sometimes to get your head around, right? So this is, I'll just come down here. Chord 4, chord 5, chord 6. Now I'm going to go to chord 7. Excuse me. And I know that chord 7 has got a flat 5th because it is the diminished triad. Yeah? I've got 5, R, flat 3. I know that's my 5th there. So if I move this up a whole step, but flatten that, can you hear? It looks like a D minor shape, guys. It's the same fingering as a D minor shape, you know? There. And then I move back to my E shape here. More guitar in. So that's the key of E major there. Now that's great, and everything. But those notes there, those are just my triads. Those are just triads, albeit because, back to the diagram, if I just use those shapes there as my north stars, then I have to think of them as being second inversions, yeah, because that's what it is. That's what it means by the fifth being on the bottom there. It's the second inversion. And I should just say, while I'm here, the C and the G shapes, these are more triadic. They go root, third, fifth, okay? So this whole idea, this whole Botox major and lipo minor, yeah. Right, so hopefully that makes sense. Now what we have to do, yes, is I have to get into this, and with this diagram, I'm going to carry on with this diagram here, guys. And I can pull this in underneath here. Wobbly Bob does sound great in that context, doesn't he? Now what I can do is, now that I have my shapes in order here, guys, yeah, you can see I've got all my intervals there in my seesaw. Yeah, the fulcrum, I'm having to hide the fulcrum a little bit there. But what I do is that these shapes now become my north stars. I look out for those just as I was playing them there up the guitar neck. What I can do now is I can think to myself, and I won't overdo this, because this is something that I suggest you get pen. Hang on, I do this to impact. Get a pen, some paper, if you can. There's a great program called Neck Diagrams. It's on my channel. It's on my In the Fretboard Fraternity. There's links to it in there. You can do that, and you can color code it and everything else. Like, it's a wonderful piece of software. I highly recommend it. And then you can see how this stuff works. You can plot out these ideas. Although, I will say, pen and paper, you know, drawing things out like this, drawing out your chord boxes, drawing your shapes in, it's part of the study. It's good for you. It's good for your understanding, because you start to see things. You'll draw something in and you'll go, that's the relationship that was there, that's on here. It's on the chord. It's a different way of looking at things. So really, drawing things out is really good. It's really good for you. So let's have a look what David Doty said. If you have your root note north star, explain why the major 7, major 3rd. Right. You're referring to the Rosetta Stone 6251473, okay, is about the Rosetta. That's the guitar Rosetta Stone. This doesn't apply necessarily to this, because what we're doing is we're looking at chord structures. The Rosetta Stone is about key structures and where root notes for chords live. Does that make sense, David? Because it's a good question, is that? Yeah, so what we do, you see the Rosetta Stone is the bird's eye view. Yeah, so you're looking at the bird's eye view and you go, right, okay, so where are my chords located? Okay, and then this is about, right, now I can see where the chord is. I'm zoning in on it, and now I've zoned in on it. How do I manipulate it? How do I get it to sound the way I want it to sound? That's the thing. So it's a very good question. Very, very good question. And interesting. It's just another layer. It's another layer of understanding. Okay? Okay? Right. Yeah, neck diagrams, guitar software. It's wonderful. Right. Okay? It saves my life so much of late. So let me get back to the drawing. Now, what I think is, if you imagine this is the North Star, right? And if you think about it, if you've got a star, there are things orbiting around it. Yeah, there's planets and everything else like that. And what we want to do is we want to find those planets, and it's about where notes are relative. Yes, John. Yes. R35. Let me put that 3-5 3-5R is first inversion. Yes. I'll put that in there. Yep, because we're starting on the second inversion, first inversion, which we don't call first inversion. No, sorry, with root position. Yeah, so that's the way to look at it. Right. Let's circle back around. So I'm circling around this. So this E, we're imagining this E is an orange giant star of some variety. I don't know if there is an orange giant. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this and I'm going to think to myself, well, there's my third. That's a major third. If I move one fret up, I've got a fourth. There. If I move another fret up, then what happens is I get a sharp 4 or a flat 5. Guys, are you getting this? You're getting this. So this is going to be sharp 4 or flat 5. There. I know by moving down a half step there, I get my flat third. I know where that's going to live. And I can do that, base it all on using the chord shape here to pull everything in. It's to really focus it in. I'm not focusing on the B string and the E string and building scale patterns. I'm just focusing on the core of the chord, because that's what the triad is. A triad is the core of the chord. Let's look at this fifth here. If I look at the fifth, I can go up and I can see that I've got my minor sixth here, which is also known as a flat 6. Okay? If I go to the fifth now and I go down a half step, I can see I get my sharp 4, my flat 5 again. Right? Let's go to the root. Let's go to the root here, and I can see that if I'm at the root and I go backwards, yeah, root, go backwards, I get to a major 7. Okay? That's going to be a 7. If I go up a half step from the root here, you can see I get a minor second. There. So I'm starting to flesh out all these intervals around that. If I want it to go further, and the way I think about this is I tend to think about this as 2 notes at either side. Yeah, so 2 notes at either side will find you all the notes that you need. It will generally find you all the notes that you need. Maybe I should have done these with 4, yeah, with 4 frets. I could draw them out again, but we've already got this wonderful sheet here. So, but let me just explain. Now what I do is I take that idea there, yeah? I take that idea there. Someone is playing an E major chord. And this brings me back to this idea of what is going on in the now, yeah? So I'm going to look at this common chord formula, yeah? I can look at that major, right? I know the major triad goes root third, fifth. But augmented is a root third and a sharp 5. Well, what the heck does that look like? Let me put that on the guitar. And this is any position. Yeah, so it doesn't matter what the chord alphabet letter name is. Yeah, it's any position. So if I play this one here, and let me zoom in. Zoomy. Zoom in here. I go 5R3. I can see now, there, that's my fifth. If I raise it 1 fret, I'm going to get an augmented sound. Can you hear that? Can't remember what the song is. It reminds me of John Lennon. Oh, our life together, we have grown. somewhere else. It goes somewhere else. But you can see how I can use the 5th root and 3rd there to make this happen. Let's look at another of these. Let's just quickly look at another one. Let's look at this major 7. You can see the major 7 has got this formula. It goes root, 3rd, 5th, 7th. Right, but you're saying, oh, hang on, Ricky, but you're only holding down the 5th root, 3rd. Well, here's what I do. I know that my root is there, and if I lower it 1, I get my major 7 now. So now what I can do is I can play that there. And now I have 4 notes. And now I can get that there. Look, so I've got that there, which is cool. Now let's have a look at another one. Let's just switch to another one. And hopefully you can start to see how this is going to work. So this is helping you to understand how to play all your fancy chords. Yeah, I like add 9 chords. And you can see that an add 9 has a root, a 3rd, a 5th, and a 9. A 9 is just an enharmonic equivalent for a 2nd. Yeah, so because I know it's a 2nd, yeah, then what I do is I go 5R3, take the root. A 2nd would be a whole step above. Okay, now let me put that in my chord. Yeah, now that's an A. So I can put that there. And I can think to myself, I know that if I've got this chord here, I think, well, I like the sound of add 9s. So I'll use that. I'll play the 5th, 3rd, to the 9th, to the root, to the 3rd, to the 5th. Okay? Yeah? Now the thing that I can do as well with this is if I think to myself, okay, well, yeah, that's nice. What if I want a major 9? That major 9 means I have to add that 7th in as well. Now I have 5R3. I've got the 7 here, and I've got a 9 here. So let me put this in. And I have these notes that are sitting on top of this chord that lives in the now. Yeah? So this is the now that is happening. This is what I meant about it being harmony in the now, the woo-woo. And you hear that 7th creates tension because it's the leading note. Yeah? It wants to resolve to this note. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Yeah? Okay. I'd like to see a lesson which denotes all the layers of guitar knowledge like a wider view. It's coming. So I can play that there, and because I'm playing that major 7, then what I can do is I can think to myself, well, what chords have a major 7? Chords 1 and chord 4. Yeah, so I can look at that and I can go. So I'm playing chords on top of the chords. I'm thinking major 7. Yeah, so that's just the major there. Here's an A shape. The same thing is going to apply here. That's the 5th. There's the root. There's the 3rd. So if I go back to that 5th, I've got a minor 6. I've got the major 6th here. I've got the sharp 4, flat 5 here, and I've got a 3rd here. Sorry, 5th. And I've got the perfect 4th here. What am I on about? Yeah. So I can go. So I can think about things, and I think to myself, oh, hang on, let's take that shape, make it into a 7th chord. There's the root, major 7, flat 7. I get this little structure. And Graham's got a great little question. He understands the theory about it, but how do you use it? Okay, well, let's look at something a bit bigger. Let's look at it in the context of we'll play it in the guitarist key, G. We're using the L7 grid to find this. This is the L7 grid, guys. Look, I'm playing you the shapes from the L7 grid. I'm probably best zooming in a bit with this as well. Let's have a look. Let me just move over here. Okay, so chord 1, chord 4, chord 5. There's my majors. That's going to be an E major shape. Let me just strip out the bar chord and just play the 5R3s. Okay, here's chord 4. There's the 5R3. Move it up to chord 5. 5R3. Okay, now for the minors. There's the minors in the L7 grid. While I'm here, 5th root, flat 3rd, 5th root, flat 3rd, 5th root, flat 3rd. You can hear the sad. Now I've established my triads there. Then what I can do is I can think to myself, okay, so this is chord 1. It's going to be a major 7 chord. So I can play that there, but I can play through the chords, and it's called playing through the changes, playing the changes. Okay, so if I take a chord progression, a common chord progression, yeah, which is like 6, 2, 5, 1, which is Ave Maria. Yeah, it's also hey. You've heard that, Island in the Sun. Yeah, so we take that there. We take that. So when the A minor chord plays, I can think to myself, well, what notes are available to me in that? I've got my 5th root 3rd, and because it belongs to chord 6, I can add other notes to it, and I think to myself, well, that's the flat 3rd. There's going to be my 2nd. Yeah, flat 3rd. That's my 4th. So Dem says, with minor adjustment, can you move last week's patterns ideas using the E shape rather than the A shape to locate the root 3rd, 5th center of those patterns? A bit lost on what that at the end bit about the root 3, 5. But with the minor adjustment, all right, using the E shape rather than A shape. Okay, I think I know what you mean. Basically, yeah, all I'm doing is, yeah, and this is how you tackle those tricky chord changes. You know when you get a chord progression and it's like, and then a chord comes from nowhere, and you think to yourself, well, what key is this in? Yes, and you could think to yourself, well, if you look at something like, let's look at, I just automatically just thought about Hey Joe, which is kind of like, it's basically chained second. You can kind of think about it as chained secondary dominance. Yeah, so they're all major chords, which shouldn't work, but it does. So we've got C, G, D, A, E. Yeah. So really, what can happen is when that C chord is playing, I can base my ideas around the shape as being my North Star and finding the intervals that are orbiting it. When I change to the G shape, I can do the same thing there because I know which interval is which. I know that this is going to be a 5th and this is another root. So I think that's going to be the 6th there. So I'm using, there's the root, there's the 2nd, there's the major 7th, there's the flat 7. So I know where to put those. Then there's the D. Okay, so I can use use that as well. I can think to myself, okay, so if I think of that as D major, yeah, I want to think of it a D7, then yeah, somebody plays a D like that. You're jamming with your buddy, yeah, and you play this, even though it's not a finger that he's holding down. It's gonna the whole thing's gonna sound like a 7th chord, okay? Yes, yeah, L7's on page 19. Yeah, so it's in the book, okay? So this is the deal, guys. So you think to yourself, look, it's easy because look, the chords move like notes. That's D, E, F, G. So say we're in G major, and I'm thinking to myself, G major 7. It's nice, easy for me to find that. Ooh, that sounds like a song. I can't remember what it is. So something like, well, that's a good way of looking at it as well. Minor, based on the E minor shape there. I can see I've got my flat 3rd, my 5th, and my root. Yeah, if I want to turn it into something else, I can do, because I know where my orbiting intervals are for the chord. Yeah, so it's really this idea of marrying them. Yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was, Ralph. But I don't like to play too much of any song. But this boils into this idea of chord tone, Charlie Christian. And so the thing is, even if you've got an expensive chord like this, when I look at this, I think to myself, you know, if I zoom in, well, what shape is that? If I look at this, it's a D9 chord. Yeah, there's a D9 chord. But I'm thinking to myself, well, because of the C shape, the way the C shape goes like this, and the A shape goes this is the intersect between the two shapes. So I can think to myself, then my 5R3 is there for this shape. Yeah, if I play it here, there's my root 3rd, 5th. Paul says, you basically need to know all the triads and where they are in the cage system, if I'm not mistaken. Once you know the triads and R3-5 positions within those, then all this comes easier, maybe. Yeah. But not even as complicated as that, to be fair. If you know the Rosetta Stone lesson that I did, yes, I did a live class on this, and I think I talked about this. I think I talked about this quite in depth. That you can do it on the fly. You can do this stuff on the fly, but it's memorizing this stuff. Memorize this stuff, yeah. Memorize your scale formulas. Yeah, that's the way it works. I kind of think of it as like, you know, you go to a restaurant and you go, if you went to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant and you asked him to make something posh and fancy, he would not be, say, oh, hang on, let me just get my recipe book out. He's got the recipe in his head, and you need the recipe in your head, okay? And they're not that difficult to memorize, yeah? It's just like memorizing phone numbers. You know, if you just spend a week memorizing, you know, 1 or 2 scale formulas or some chord formulas, and then you'll really get to grips with it and understand what can happen. But you'll also see that what scales can sit on what chords, yes? And that's essentially what we're tapping into here, because chord tone soloing, what it does is it focuses on the chord, on the triad, not the scale, yes? Because that's a kind of an approach. So people generally think to themselves, okay, A minor, I'll play an A minor scale on top of that, starts in the same place as the chord. Yeah. that's, yeah, job done. All the notes are there. But what happens is it's not as creative, because if I've got my 5th root 3rd there, so I can pick out certain scale notes because I know what explicit effect they will have on the harmony in the now, yeah? That's a flat 3rd. That's a 2nd, which is also a 9th, yeah? So, yeah, so there's a 4th, up to a 5th, which gives me that sort of stabilizing idea. And we're always working with tension and release, yeah? We're always about that delaying the release as long as is possible for it to be satisfactory. Yes? Learn the chord tones with each scale. Well, funny thing is, Greg says that, yeah? Here's how you know what chord tones work with each chord in the key, yeah? The mode formulas. And I talked about this before in what I call the full chord. If we take a triad and we add another note on top by going up a 3rd, we get a 7th. If we go up another 3rd, we get a 9th. If we go up another 3rd, we get an 11th. If we go up another 3rd, we get a 13th. And that gives us 7 notes stacked on top of each other. And that's why I call it the full chord, because that's the fullest expression you can get of that chord. And if you look at that chord, you'll find that the intervals in the chord match the mode scale degrees. Okay, so if you know your mode formulas, yeah, that's why I did that thing where I said did a video on do I need to learn modes, and the thumbnail just says yes. But you need to learn the formulas. Okay, you need to learn the formulas. So you take that, right, and then if you know the mode formulas, right, like look at, let's look at one. Let's get a fresh piece of paper, and let's look at it, and we'll look at it with a chord. And guys, I did some lessons on this with this E shape as well. They're on the channel. I shall maybe have to repost them in the fretboard fraternity or something, right? Because what they do, it's about this 5R3 shape, and it says never get lost with your modes again. Where am I? On this one here. Right. Okay. So look, I know that my major chords, if we're thinking about it, right, I'm going to go through my chords in my key. I'm going to go chord 1, chord 2, chord 3, chord 4, chord 5, chord 6, chord 7. These are my associated chords. This is Ionian, also known as major. Okay. This is Dorian. This is Phrygian. This is Lydian. This is Mixolydian. This is Aeolian. We know we can memorize the order by Idpul Mal. Maria's put it in there. And then we get Locrian. Okay. Now what I'm just going to pick on for now is I'm going to pick on that. Chord 4 is major. It's a major triad underneath that. So let me just build everything around that. So let's look at this. I'm going to go 5. I'm going to go R. I'm going to go 3 there. Now the scale formula for Lydian is super simple, because basically it's a major scale, but it has a sharp 4 or an augmented 4th. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me pull that into picture. There we go. That's better. Right. So that is a clue to simplify things. Absolutely. So now what I do is I think to myself, right, okay, I'm visualizing this here. There's my shape. Okay. Let me highlight my shape. There's my shape. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the sharp 4. That's my feature note. That's the note that makes it sound Lydian. Yeah, I need to do that. Oh, hang on, it lives here as well. So I can think about that in that case. Now I know Lydian's got a major 7th, so I just I just put that major 7 there like that. Okay. I can see to myself, I can see there and I can think, all right, hang on. Well, what else have I got that's in close proximity? I'm just going to stick to that for now. I could extend it. I could extend it really. Hang on, let me extend it by another fret. And then we can get some more depth out of this. There's the 5th, there's the 6th. The 6th is going to live here. Now let me just play that pattern. I'll play that pattern for you there. So hopefully you can see where that sharp 4 goes there, guys. This is going to be, I'm just going to do it in A. And it doesn't matter where it is. Look. There's the 5R3. Okay. Zoom in. 5R3. There's the 3. There's the sharp 4. Can you hear this? I'm going to put that on the diagram, which will be available in PDF Club. I'll put the 5th there as well, because that's nice. That resolution from that tension sound, because yeah, what we've got going on is this tritone in between the root and the sharp 4 there wants to resolve to that 5th because it's a perfect interval. Perfect intervals sound more resolved. Yeah, so look. Yeah. Going to put my 2nd there. Yeah. There's my 7th there. So I could play this chord. And if I play, you need it sounds. Ooh. Sounds exotic now with that major 7th. There's the 5th. There's the 6th. And there's that sharp 4 again, an octave lower. 5R3, sharp 4, drop it down an octave. Yeah, so. So, yeah, so that's what I could put the 2nd in there as well. So I can see what I'm doing is I'm just applying, there we go. I'm just applying the modal formula around the shape. Yeah, but the thing is, when I'm thinking of that, I'm basically omitting the chromatics that sit at either side. Really, I'm thinking to myself, well, there's a flat 6 there as well. And here I'm thinking to myself, I've got a 4th. And I'm thinking my flat 7 lives here. I'm also thinking I've got a flat 2nd here. So this is where those chromatic notes come into play. 3rd here, I've got a perfect 4th here, I've got a flat 3 here. And this is why you end up with this group. And that's why I was saying to you, you've got the shape here, but then you've got 2 frets that way and you've got 2 frets that way from each of the North Star intervals on the triad there. Okay? So you could do that. You can see where everything's going to live. And like I say, that flat 6, there's other names for that. That's another intervals lesson. And then all you do is you pick that as your study. And you just record that chord. You know, you just record that chord there. Or you think to yourself, oh, hang on. Use a drone note. Or I could use this. I'm going to use this E, open E string here. There's my E chord using the A shape, 5R3. There's that sharp 4. Yeah? Because that's one thing that you need to... I should say that because it's one of those that you need to know. The sharp 4, it's kind of like people get a bit stuck on the sharp 4 when it comes to suspensions. Ooh. Now I'm just going to do this quickly in D. D major, chord 1. We've we've got G major, this is chord 4, this is chord 5. On chord 1 and chord 5, we get a normal D sus4. That's available to us, key-wise. But if I go to chord 4, if I play that, it sounds wrong. Really, what I need is the sharp 4 on there, because chord 4 is Lydian, and that has that sharp 4 in it. Okay? So it all ties in with that understanding. Hopefully this makes sense. So we can add those guys to that there. I think I've probably gone as far as I need to go with this today. I think all the concepts are in this picture here that you can see here. You can do that so you can think of it chordally. You can think of it as there, and like when I say that, that's the mode. I could take that there, and I can think of that as being the full chord. What's available to me, okay? And I refer to modal scale degrees. Okay, that's what all you need to do. You refer to the modal scale degrees for the full chord. And like I say, the full chord goes root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, 11th, 13th. 7 notes. How many notes do you have in the major scale? 7 notes. Okay, so you're expending them all, but in a different order. Okay, so triad, 7th, upper extensions. There's a lot. There is a lot to digest here, guys. Yes, so hopefully that makes sense. I got half the lesson. It's heady. Who suggested this? Somebody suggested this last week. Somebody suggested it, and it's their fault, Shauna. Blame them, not me. I'll talk about this stuff till the cows come home, because I love it to bits. Because they, like somebody said in the chat as well earlier that the fretboard's a beautiful thing, and it is. Once you see it, once you can see it, it really is. It's elegant, but you've got to understand the layers. You've got to have to be able to separate the layers to see how everything connects. Everything is connected. I say that a lot. Hopefully that makes sense. If you got it, then that's great. If it helped, if there was just a few little light bulbs going off, then that's what we need. Well, as ever with these lessons, these big lessons, you know, where we expand upon, and we're taking 12-minute lessons and we're extending them into like an hour and a half. You know, there's going to be more stuff. Marcel says, will I talk about the beginner's guitar class course? Yeah, obviously, yes, I will. And Mrs. Ricky, are you there? Will you paste the information page in the old chat box? So, essentially, I wonder if I can get into it. If it hasn't logged me out. Like I say, it's been a bit of a pain today. Oh, I'm not logged out. Right. Okay, let's have a look. I may be able to share it. It's been silly. Is it being silly? Do I need to log out? I'll just log out and then I'll log back in again. It's probably it's always the easiest way. Log back out, log back in again. She was way ahead of me. She always is. So, right. Okay, so the Kickstart guitar course. Right, now what I've done is I've said to I you know, the whole mission, my whole mission is, you know, before the age of 30 I wanted to be a rock star. Yeah, and you know, and I was a guitar teacher before that, and I always just kind of looked at that as being like, well, that's the prelude for becoming a rock star, just so that I could learn my stuff. But then I realised that when that didn't happen, that my whole reason for my whole existence was really about teaching guitar, and I kind of it's almost like I submitted to the idea, and when I did, my life just became easier, and it made sense, because I realised that, you know, for me, teaching guitar, I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything better to do. That is, if I can get somebody playing guitar and playing some tunes on a guitar that make them happy. It's like, why do people become comedians? It's like because they want to make people happy. I watched something on Ken Dodd, bless him. You know, and that's the thing. So how can you make people happy? It could be football. It could be. There's loads of ways to make yourself happy. But I think, you know, playing guitar, it's for me, it's tried and tested and true. So, really, that's the whole crux of it. Now, I know from owning and operating a music school and having 350 students come in through the school every week, something like that, some roughly like that. They all come in with a dream of playing guitar or drums or piano or singing or doing something, and a lot of people don't actually get to fulfill that dream, and that's the driving force behind everything that I teach is that thinking, will this help a student achieve that goal, that dream? Because if I can help that dream come true, then I have been of service. And let's face it, all of us, when the day is done, all we want is people to say, yeah, he were a good un, or she were a good un. And that's all I want, you know. And that's the whole purpose. That's the whole purpose for all of this. Yeah, for guitar. And probably why I'm so obsessed, because I get as much out of it as you guys do, probably more. And yeah, so that's really the thing. So when it came to devising the guitar course, I basically pared down the live in-person guitar classes I used to teach in music colleges and in my music school, and pared it down to the absolute bare essentials, but enough to make it interesting, to keep going and get over that first hurdle of the sore fingers, the terminology, the all that stuff. Yeah, it's so hard when you start, you know. Personally, I started when we didn't have the internet, so, and I used to spend hours down at the library drawing things out from books, because I wasn't allowed to take any books out because I had fines. So it's like, and I didn't have any money to pay for them, so I used to go down and I'd draw out the chord progressions and all sorts of stuff like that. The internet has made it so wonderful to be able to share this information, and it's the biggest buzz and the bit that you know, to be able to do this. It's very much an honour. Very grateful to be able to do this. So the Kickstart guitar course is really focused on getting a new person who's never picked up a guitar before to pick it up and go, after a few lessons, goes, actually, I'm playing something. I'm recognizing what it's meant to sound like. I'm getting somewhere. And once that reward bias is triggered, yeah, and you get past that point of you going, yeah, this is me. This is going to be part of my life forever now. And it's like, and that's always been my goal. I'm like a guitar evangelist. I'm trying to convert as many people into the gospel of guitar as possible, if that makes sense. That's the way I see it. That's my whole mission, and that's really what it's all about. Graham says, why did you stop the guitar school? After nearly 20 years, 19 years, it just got really, really hard, Graham, to be honest, with escalating rents and escalating electricity costs, and after COVID, everything got tricky, but for nearly 20 years, we put some graft in. We did a lot. I've done everything I pretty much wanted to do with that, from opening up the space. It was like 6,500 square foot of space with a venue on site and like 11 teaching rooms. It was a big deal. 12 staff, sometimes up to 14 other tutors in the school, and it was a lot. And when YouTube took off, I realized, actually, if somebody watches my video and I'm asleep in bed, I'm still doing the same job. This is the thing. So it just like a bit. I don't know about you guys in the rest of the world, but the UK cost of living is crushing businesses. There's businesses dropping left, right, and centre, because of all of that stuff. So that's really what it is. And after nearly 20 years of sacrifice, we realised during COVID that it was all about family. Everything is about family, really, And on Wednesdays, you guys become my extended family. That's the way I see it. Hopefully that makes sense. A bit mushy, yeah, but that's the way I see it. So that's what it was. You did your priorities change? After COVID, the first lockdown, it was the first time that my family, we had time together, for an extended period of time, and it was brilliant. It was brilliant, and we realised, well, look what we've been missing out on, and that was another reason. And there's some other reasons as well, but the thing is, at the end of the day, it's family first, isn't it? That's all of us guys. We've got to look after each other and that sort of stuff. All about toilet paper. Yeah, COVID was all about toilet paper. Crikey! Oh, what a mess that all was. Anyhow, so getting back onto the Kickstart guitar course, somebody asked it, and I've gone off on a tangent, didn't I? So the thing is, yeah, the whole thing with the Kickstart guitar course is basically to get you through those first awkward steps of getting to know what's on your guitar, playing your guitar. I wonder if I can I do that? No, don't allow. No, I thought I could change my screen there. It wouldn't let me do it. I was going to share it there, but what I'll do is I'll do a run through of what's in here, and I'll create a video and I'll put that up somewhere, and you can see it. Scott says life is short, isn't it? Really, it's fleeting. It is fleeting, and really it is. We've got to do the things that make us happy, really, ultimately, and base that around what I think are the best things, which is your family, and then the work, and that guy. You know, so you know, that's the whole thing, really. So hopefully that makes sense. I'll do a video anyhow about what's going on, and you'll see it. I'll post it on my channel. And yeah, my dad's 84, Kevin, and it's like, and yeah, it's like, and it only seems yesterday that he was, you know, out in the garden lifting big rocks in his 30s, you know, and yeah, it goes very, very quick, you know. So before we get too down on that, let's see where we're at. Right, so next week we have another class. Like I say with this, if you don't have the book, then you're missing out. I do think so. Yeah, Amazon bestseller, don't you know? Yes. This is what you look for. It's on Amazon as a paperback. Get it there. 80 lessons in it. Join the Fretboard Fraternity. There's the book. Join the Fretboard Fraternity. All the videos are all in there in the learning section, listed and numbered for ease and convenience. Because, you know, when I wrote this, you know, I didn't even know I was going to write this. It was like in the Facebook group, people were saying, "No, you should turn it into a book." And then I went, "All right," and it's like, so I've learnt a lot with this, and you know, so yeah, that's the book. Join the Fretboard Fraternity. It'd be great to see you in there. A nice place to be, you know. Online, because I don't think there are many nice places to be online, and that's essentially what it is. And if you want access to all the gubbins, yeah, that I do here on YouTube, then this is all the where you get the PDFs, and I'm afraid that PDF Club members are the only ones who get these handouts. So I will be scanning these, uploading them. And sometimes, and then what I do is I put other bits and bobs together, other resources. And actually, you know, last week's lesson in, I think it was, or upload inspired the short backing track videos that I've done, guys. You need to watch those. They're really, really useful, and they're really, really helpful. There's the master lesson, which is about 40 minutes, which shows you how to use the backing tracks. And then it's just basically backing tracks with guided practice that show you through playing the patterns. Play the patterns, get them under your fingers. But what it does is it builds on it. So you start with your triad, and then you build it out, and you build it out. And it ties into this. It's all connected, guys. It really is all connected. So, like we are, we're all connected. We're all connected. It's true. So, like I say, that's the lesson. So thank you guys for rocking up. I appreciate you turning up and you know, looking at my ugly mug. Oh, there's a question there. Ingo says, is it in A4 or US size? It's A4. There's something beautiful about A4, because A4, it's like you fold it in half, you get A5, you double it, you get A3, you double A3. There's a mathematical beauty to A4. So that's what it is. So, that's lovely. That's lovely, Graham. Yeah. So that's where we're at. Get the chuffing book. Got the ring binder style one. Yeah, that's a good one. So, and that's why I always end the lessons with like remembering who you're playing guitar for. Yeah. I will always end the lesson reminding you to pick it up, because really is it's not just an instrument of sound, it's an instrument of joy once you get to grips with it. And once you get to grips with it, you'll become obsessed, and you'll always have it there for you, you know. It really is. It is a tool for life to just to help you through life. You know, some people buy motorboats and motorbikes, you know, but guitars, it's cheap. I used to say this, it's like that midlife crisis where men have midlife crises and go and buy a big sports car. Well, those are expensive, you know. All right, okay, we'll buy a motorbike. That's less expensive. Buy a guitar. That's even more less expensive. That's doable. So you could think about it in that way. So yeah, pick it up every day, guys. Just leave it out on a stand. Hang it on your wall. You get a wall hanger. Hercules wall hangers. They're great. Hang it on your wall. Take it down a few minutes while you're making a cup of tea or a cup of coffee in the morning. Few minutes, run your finger through some chords, just look at some stuff, get your brain going, you know, because I know as we get older, we've got to keep the brain going, keep the gritty matter going, okay? Got to keep that going. Yes. Almost Ricky's OnlyFans, where he just sits in a pool of jello with guitars. Yeah, I can see that in the garden this summer in a pool of jello. It's not happening. So yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm waffling now. I've taken the mood down enough now. All right, party pooper, aren't I? But there you go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say to you, yeah, pick it up, practice, look after yourself, look after each other, yeah, and send my love to all your family, yeah? I don't want you to do that, actually. I like that. Yeah? Just say Ricky says hi. Now go, who's Ricky? Ricky says hi. See you later. Take care. Look after yourself. Bye.